We've heard of confirmation bias, right? Where our initial perception of what is going on about a particular situation really feeds and dictates how we perceive all the evidence around that. And we can end up being incredibly wrong about the situation, but yet feeling so right because of that initial energy and the initial ideas we had about it. This happened to me with a very bright, twinkling object in the sky. And when we first moved to Hawaii, I noticed this thing up in the sky. It was so vivid. It was turning pink and yellow and green and purple, blue, white, all different colors very rapidly. I took videos of it. It was really bizarre. And I felt like in the morning, it would still be in the same place, doing the same thing. So I concluded that it couldn't be a star. I had downloaded a stargazing app to try to figure out what it was. Was it a star or some other kind of satellite or something? And nothing came back conclusive about that. So I would just sit and gaze at this thing for hours and hours over the course of the weeks. And I just had it in my head that it was some secret technology, because I like thinking that maybe there's some secret technology out there. Maybe it was some kind of a government surveillance object in the sky, or maybe even an extraterrestrial vessel up there, just untouchable, nothing we could do about it. I bought a telescope to try to get a better look at this thing. That didn't really help me too much. It didn't make the object any more vivid. I thought, okay, if this thing is close, I'm going to be able to see it better. But it didn't help me see it any better, and it really didn't twinkle anymore once I got it in view. So I was super confused about that. I was talking with people I knew about it, and they were asking similar questions that I had. Did you try a telescope? Did you try the stargazing app? And I thought, I need to try a different stargazing app. So I did. I tried a different one. And I also did some research to see about what are the earliest objects to appear in this portion of the sky. And I got some information back about some stars that would appear very early on, because this appeared at the very beginning of the night. And lo and behold, come to find out, what I had been obsessing over was the star Canopus. And I had heard of atmospheric refraction, what makes stars sort of twinkle and flicker, but I didn't realize that it could cause such vivid color changing, or appear to be color changing, phenomena on what we experience visually. So Canopus is not the only star that manifests this kind of behavior. There are other stars that do it. And that's why in the morning I would think that I was looking at the same exact thing, when in fact it was another star exhibiting the same behavior of this very vivid, mesmerizing, atmospheric refraction. It makes it look as though it's changing colors. So this process of mine went over the course of a couple of months, and my confirmation bias that I was experiencing and kind of hoping for really delayed the process, because for weeks I just would look at it and be certain that, yeah, I am looking at some kind of a technological object in the sky. And it made me feel a certain way. I felt a lot of wonder and excitement around that, and mystery, and that felt a certain way to me. So interestingly, over the following weeks after realizing that it was the star Canopus, when I wouldn't look up at it as often, but when I did, when I would see it, I would still initially feel like I was looking at some technological wonder. I had created such a story in my mind that even when I looked at it after knowing what it was, I would still think that it wasn't a star. I would still feel that way. And a similar thing happened to me when I had a little pet bird when I was a teenager. I thought for the longest time, from the outset, that I had a female bird, and viewed my bird as a female for years, and then found out later that my bird was a male. And I never did buy into it. It didn't feel right to me. It was so different than what I had thought for so long that I just wasn't going to go there. I always just decided to view my bird as a female. We do these interesting things. Sometimes we're unwilling to incorporate the new views, even when the evidence in favor of a different way of viewing something is very plain and accepted. But we create stories in our minds, and we have confirmation bias, and we feel a certain way. We become very used to how it makes us feel. And sometimes it's just easier to leave those confirmation biases in place. But we need to ask ourselves, especially when it comes to how we view people in our lives and more impactful situations, how are we looking at that? Is it serving us to have the viewpoint that we do? Is it promoting the best outcome for us and for other people? So, as a father and as a husband, these are the kinds of questions that we need to be asking ourselves. Do we have confirmation bias around this? And a really great way to identify this is to do a thought download about the situation. Really just freely write down on paper what we're thinking about that situation, and inquire within ourselves, are there other ways of looking at this? Is our way of viewing the situation the absolute only option? And I'm here to say the answer is always no. There are other ways of looking at it. There are as many ways of looking at it as there are people in the world. So we have options. And some of the other options might serve us more than our current frame of mind. So, yeah, that's it for now.